1-8. Year. Old human buys decommissioned fighter. It holds a message from a lost civilization. Alex wiped the dust from his hands and stepped back from the broken drone he had been tinkering with. The workshop smelled of burnt circuits and old metal. He glanced out the window of his tiny apartment, looking at the gray skies of Novara. The planet was rough and unforgiving, a place where people lived hard lives among mining colonies and junkyards. But to Alex, it was home, even if it sometimes felt like a cage. At 18, he had already learned that life would not hand him anything for free. Money came from scraping tech out of ruins and selling it to the traders in the city. But Alex had bigger dreams than fixing broken gadgets. He wanted adventure, exploration, a life that reached beyond the dusty planet he was born on. That day, he had been wandering through the crowded streets near the auction house, a place most people avoided. It was the kind of place where old tech was sold cheaply, and nobody cared who got it. His eyes caught sight of a sign. Decommissioned fighter. All sales final. Alex stopped. The fighter was sleek, covered in layers of dust, and looked like it hadn't flown in decades. Its paint was chipped, and a few panels were missing. Most people would have walked past it, thinking it was worthless scrap. But Alex felt something different. He didn't know why, but this fighter called to him. "Are you looking to buy?" a rough voice asked. Alex turned to see the auctioneer, a tall man with mechanical arms, probably more machine than flesh.
Maybe, Alex said cautiously.
He had only saved a small pile of credits, enough to buy junk, but not a fighter. The auction began. People bid on the usual items first: old blasters, broken robots, discarded engines. Then it came to the fighter. The first bid was low, almost insulting, and no one else seemed interested. Alex's heart raced. Could he do it? Could he really spend all his savings on something that might just be junk? The bids went back and forth. Alex hesitated, then raised his hand. 2,000 credits. The auctioneer glanced at him, surprised. Anyone higher? No one moved. Alex's pulse quickened. He could really own it. "Sold," the auctioneer called. Alex couldn't believe it. He had bought the fighter. With shaky hands, he handed over his credits. He felt a thrill, unlike anything he had experienced before. This was more than a purchase. It was a step toward a life he had only dreamed about. Back at his workshop, Alex dragged the fighter inside. It was heavier than he expected, and maneuvering it through the narrow door required clever thinking and a lot of sweat. Finally, the fighter sat in the center of the room, like a sleeping beast waiting to wake. Alex ran his hands over its hull, feeling the cold metal and worn panels. The cockpit looked empty, but he noticed something unusual: a small seam under the control panel. Curious, he pressed a button, and the panel slid open. Inside was a hollow storage device, glowing faintly. "What?" Alex whispered. The device activated on its own, projecting a shimmering image of stars, strange planets, and a vast city that floated in space. The architecture was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towers that bent in impossible angles, bridges that hovered without support, and lights that pulsed like living things. A voice spoke in a language Alex could not understand, rhythmic and melodic, yet commanding. Symbols floated in the air, forming shapes and patterns he couldn't decipher. But then, he noticed something: a map of star systems, some of which didn't exist on any human chart. Alex's mind raced. This was not just a fighter. This was a message from a civilization long gone. He spent hours examining the device. He tried connecting it to his computer, hoping some AI translator could make sense of it. Nothing worked. The symbols resisted all attempts. It was as if the message had been designed to be understood only by someone specific, someone who could think like the creators. Night fell over Novara. 7. But Alex could not sleep. He sat in the cockpit, staring at the holograms, imagining the lives of the beings who had sent this message. Why had they left it? What were they trying to tell him? Days passed. Alex barely ate or slept. He scavenged parts to repair the fighter systems, cleaned circuits, and tried to understand the message. Slowly, he noticed the fighter was responding to him. Lights flickered when he touched certain panels, and sometimes the hollow images shifted, revealing new scenes and symbols. One night, Alex woke to a strange sound, a low hum coming from the fighter. He approached cautiously. The cockpit lit up, projecting the vision of a city being destroyed by a massive energy wave. Beings that looked like nothing he had ever seen were fleeing, their faces twisted in fear. Alex felt a chill. This civilization had not disappeared peacefully. Something catastrophic had happened, and somehow they had trusted him with their story. As he studied the fighter, he realized it was more than just a machine. It seemed almost alive, as if it had a purpose beyond being a weapon. Each system he repaired, each circuit he cleaned, revealed a little more of the message. It was like the fighter itself knew he was the one who could unlock its secrets. But he was not the only one who noticed. Rumors began to spread through the auction network that Alex had bought something extraordinary. Other scavengers, smugglers, and even corporate agents took an interest. Alex knew it was only a matter of time before someone came looking. Yet he could not turn back. He was drawn forward by curiosity, by the thrill of discovery, and by a sense of responsibility. The message was too important. It felt like the lost civilization had chosen him. One evening, while studying the star map projected from the holo device, Alex made a discovery. A cluster of uncharted stars, positioned in a way that hinted at a hidden system far beyond human exploration. He realized that this was where the message wanted him to go. The thought terrified him. Leaving Novara 7 would mean entering unknown space, facing dangers he could not imagine, but it also filled him with excitement. This was the adventure he had always dreamed of. The chance to do something no human had ever done, to find a lost civilization and understand their secrets. Alex made a decision. He would leave. He would follow the map, unlock the secrets, and discover the truth about the beings who had entrusted him with their legacy. That night, he sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars on the holomap, and whispered to himself, "I will find you, I promise." The fighter seemed to respond, lights pulsing softly, as if acknowledging his vow. It was no longer just a machine. It was a guide, a companion, and a key to a story that had waited eons to be told. As dawn broke over Novara 7, Alex prepared for the journey of his life. Tools packed, circuits repaired, and the fighter ready for flight, he looked once more at the city below. This was the life he had known, simple and harsh. But ahead lay the unknown, space full of wonder, danger, and secrets, waiting for a human mind to unlock. Alex climbed into the cockpit and ran his hands over the controls. The fighter purred to life, its engines humming with power long forgotten. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the unknown on his shoulders. And then, with a final glance at the planet he called home, Alex activated the jump drive, and the fighter leaped into the void of space, carrying with it a young human and the message of a lost civilization. The stars outside the cockpit stretched endlessly, sparkling like scattered diamonds. Alex's fighter cut through the void of uncharted space. With a quiet hum, he had left Novara 7 behind, but the weight of the mission pressed on him heavier than any gravity well. The lost civilization's message was still mostly a mystery, yet it demanded action. Days passed as Alex worked tirelessly. The cockpit was cluttered with tools, holoscreens, and scraps of alien tech he had scavenged along the way. Every time he tried to decipher the symbols, the message seemed to shift, almost like it knew he was watching. Alex leaned back in his seat and rubbed his eyes. "Why me?" he muttered. "Why would they leave this for a human?" It wasn't a question he expected an answer to, but the thought kept him awake at night, and he had no time to waste. The map embedded in the hollow message pointed to a star system at the very edge of human exploration. If the warning hidden in the message was real, then this journey wasn't just curiosity, it was survival. He attempted to connect the holo device to his onboard AI. Normally, the AI could translate hundreds of alien languages, but this one resisted. Every time the AI tried, the symbols morphed, almost mocking his efforts. Frustrated, Alex decided to work differently. He studied the patterns with his own eyes, comparing them to star charts, geometric shapes, and even mathematical constants. Late one night, as he was examining a glowing glyph, the fighter's control panel flickered. A low hum vibrated through the cockpit. Alex froze. The fighter itself seemed to react, pulsing in rhythm with the symbols. He touched the panel, and suddenly, a holographic projection appeared in the middle of the cockpit. It was a planet, glowing softly, surrounded by rings of energy. A figure appeared, translucent and alien, walking across a crystal-like landscape. It gestured toward a floating structure in the distance. Alex's heart raced. This wasn't just data. It was a recording, a memory. He could feel the urgency of the lost civilization. Something terrible had happened to them. They had vanished, leaving only fragments of knowledge. And somehow, they had trusted him to find it. Alex worked faster than ever. Days blurred into nights as he adjusted circuits, rearranged sensors, and experimented with different frequencies. He created a small lab in the fighter's cargo hold, using scrap components to amplify the holographic projections. Slowly, patterns emerged. The symbols were not just a language. They were instructions. Alex realized that the fighter had more hidden compartments. He began tapping panels, twisting knobs, and pressing hidden switches. Each discovery revealed new parts of the message: star maps, energy signatures, and warnings. The fighter was like a puzzle, and only by interacting with it could he unlock the next layer. One evening, the AI made a breakthrough. It detected a repeating frequency embedded in the holographic data. Alex used it to synchronize the projections, revealing a network of systems connected by faint energy trails. One trail was highlighted brighter than the others, pulsing like a heartbeat. "That's it," Alex whispered. "That's where I need to go." But danger was not far behind. Unknown to Alex, a small fleet of alien scavengers had tracked the fighter since he left Navarra 7. They had heard rumors of the lost civilization ship and wanted it for themselves. From his sensors, Alex noticed faint energy signatures that didn't match known human ships. They were following. Quiet but persistent. He didn't panic. Instead, he relied on his ingenuity. Using a combination of old tech and clever thinking, he rigged the fighter to create false energy readings, making it appear as if the ship had jumped into a nearby asteroid field. The scavengers followed the false trail, giving Alex a head start. Even in danger, he returned to the message. The more he worked, the more he understood the civilization's goals. They had mastered technologies humans couldn't yet imagine. Energy sources that could power entire planets, faster-than-light travel systems, and AI capable of independent reasoning. Yet the message also contained warnings. Something catastrophic had destroyed their world. Alex realized that the lost civilization didn't just want to share knowledge. They were sending a warning. And perhaps they had left the fighter for a species capable of courage, creativity, and empathy. A species like humanity. One night, as he studied a particularly complex projection, the fighter's systems reacted unexpectedly. The engines hummed in resonance with the message, and a compartment opened under the pilot's seat. Inside was a small, crystalline device, glowing softly. Alex picked it up carefully. The crystal projected a map of star systems, highlighting one system in bright blue. It was uncharted, far beyond human reach, with coordinates that seemed almost impossible to navigate. He realized this was the final destination, the place where the lost civilization's secrets waited. But the journey would not be easy. The path led through dangerous regions of space, asteroid belts, magnetic storms, and remnants of ancient conflicts. Alex double-checked the fighter's systems, repairing what he could and improvising where he couldn't. Every repair, every adjustment relied on human intuition, something no AI could replicate. Days later, he encountered a rogue comet. Its tail stretched for millions of kilometers, filled with deadly radiation and shards of frozen rock. Most pilots would have turned away. Alex, however, saw an opportunity. Using the fighter's old navigation thrusters and a clever manipulation of the comet's gravity, he slingshotted around it, cutting days off his journey. It was moments like these that defined him. Alone in the void, facing challenges no one else could solve, Alex used ingenuity, courage, and instinct to survive. Humanity in his hands proved itself capable of greatness. But the scavengers were still behind him. Alex detected their fleet moving closer, faster than expected. They had realized the false trail and adjusted. Panic would have slowed anyone else. Alex, however, used a fighter's hidden systems to cloak himself temporarily, slipping through a cluster of debris unnoticed. Even with the danger, he could feel the pull of the lost civilization's message. It was more than curiosity now. It was responsibility. The information in the fighter could change everything. Energy systems for dying planets, travel to distant stars, even knowledge that could prevent future disasters. Alex understood that he might be the only one capable of unlocking it safely. Late one night, as he studied the projections, a vision appeared unlike any before. The hologram showed the civilization in its final moments, battling a catastrophic energy wave that tore through their cities. But within the chaos, a figure, shaped like the projections he had seen before, activated a sequence, sending the fighter into space with the message. Alex's heart pounded. The civilization had known they would fall. They had prepared a way to save their knowledge and pass it to someone worthy. That someone was him. The realization filled him with awe and fear. He was just an 18-year-old human, far from home, facing dangers beyond comprehension. Yet the lost civilization had trusted him, and he would not fail. He spent the next few hours studying the final projection. Symbols danced across the cockpit walls, forming instructions for a star jump, energy stabilization, and protective shields. Alex worked meticulously, following the instructions as best he could. Each successful step caused the fighter to hum with power, as if acknowledging his skill. As dawn approached in the distant systems, Alex finally felt a moment of calm. He had decoded enough of the message to understand the path forward. The uncharted star system awaited, and within it, the secrets of the lost civilization. But he knew the journey would only get harder. Unknown dangers lurked in the uncharted space, and scavengers were relentless. The message had chosen him, yes, but it was up to him to survive, adapt, and succeed. Alex leaned back, closing his eyes for a brief moment. In the vast emptiness of space, he felt small, but also powerful. His courage, creativity, and determination were his weapons. Humanity's ingenuity was his shield. As he prepared for the final leg of his journey toward the hidden system, the fighter pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. It had accepted him as a pilot, a guardian of knowledge, and perhaps the savior of what remained from a lost civilization. The stars stretched ahead, infinite and bright. Alex tightened his grip on the controls, a smile forming on his face. He was ready. And in that moment, far from Novara, 7. Alone in the dark void of uncharted space, an 18-year-old human stood on the edge of destiny, about to unlock secrets that had waited for millennia. The hidden star system lay ahead, faint and distant on the holomap. Alex's hands hovered over the controls, his pulse quickening. For days, he had navigated through asteroid belts, rogue comets, and magnetic storms. Each challenge had tested his skills, and each time he had survived through human intuition and clever thinking. Now, at the edge of known space, he faced his greatest test yet. As the fighter approached the system, strange readings flickered across the console. Energy signatures pulsed unpredictably, and the holographic stars seemed to twist unnaturally. The fighter hummed in response, as if reacting to the system itself. Alex realized this was no ordinary cluster of stars. Something ancient and powerful waited here. He took a deep breath and activated the fighter's long-range sensors. Floating in the center of the system was a massive structure, dark against the glow of a dying star. It was a citadel, clearly abandoned, yet its size and design suggested it had once been a hub of extraordinary power. Towers twisted impossibly into space, and energy conduits arced between the structures, faintly alive with residual power. Alex's eyes widened. This was it, the heart of the lost civilization. The fighter's holo device pulsed, projecting symbols that seemed to guide him toward an entry point. It was clear the civilization had designed the citadel to be accessible only to someone who could read their message. As Alex maneuvered closer, the fighter's systems began reacting unpredictably. Doors opened inside the citadel, energy shields shimmered, and holographic pathways appeared in the void of space. It was as if the citadel itself recognized him. The excitement in Alex's chest mingled with fear. He was far from home, alone, and facing unknown technologies that could kill him in an instant. He docked the fighter carefully, testing the ancient magnetic clamps they held, and the airlock opened with a hiss. Alex stepped into the citadel, his boots echoing on smooth metallic floors. The walls pulsed faintly, as if alive, and holographic symbols floated before him. They formed patterns that were familiar from the fighter, guiding him deeper into the structure. Alex followed the symbols, discovering chambers filled with technology he had never imagined. Energy cores floated in midair, glowing softly. Consoles displayed incomprehensible data, yet some symbols he could recognize. They matched the ones in the fighter's holo device. Slowly, piece by piece, the citadel revealed its secrets, but he was not alone. From the shadows, alien scavengers emerged. They had tracked the fighter to the citadel, expecting to claim the technology for themselves. Their ships were outside, but their ground teams were here, armed with advanced weapons. There was no time for hesitation. He remembered the fighter's systems and the lessons he had learned in the void. Using quick thinking, he activated one of the energy cores he had discovered, creating a blinding pulse of light. The scavenger staggered, giving Alex a chance to move deeper into the citadel. The deeper he went, the more he understood the civilization's purpose. They had built AI capable of guiding species, energy sources that could power planets, and technologies far beyond human reach. Yet they had also left warnings, catastrophic events that could destroy entire systems if the knowledge was misused. Alex paused in front of a massive console, the largest he had seen. Holographic symbols projected into the air, forming a complex sequence. His pulse quickened. The console was a key, a way to access the full knowledge of the civilization, but it required more than mere translation. It required creativity, intuition, and courage. He studied the patterns carefully. Hours passed as he manipulated symbols, adjusting sequences, and following the logic hidden within the projections. Every successful step caused the citadel to respond. The walls pulsed, energy arcs shifted, and hidden doors opened. The AI embedded in the structure seemed to judge his actions, testing him at every turn. Outside, the scavengers regrouped. They were relentless, sending drones into the citadel. Alex used his understanding of the environment to outsmart them, setting traps using energy conduits, triggering force fields, and manipulating gravity generators. Each action showed that a human mind, even young and inexperienced, could outthink a superior foe. Finally, he reached the inner sanctum, a massive chamber at the core of the citadel. In the center floated a crystalline sphere, glowing with pure energy. The holographic projections formed a final message. The lost civilization had encoded their greatest secrets here, accessible only to one capable of understanding responsibility and ingenuity. Alex approached the sphere cautiously. As he touched it, a wave of energy pulsed through him, projecting visions of the civilization's rise and fall. He saw their cities, their inventions, their triumphs, and their mistakes. They had vanished because of unchecked power, leaving only guidance for a species that could use it wisely. The AI spoke at last, its voice melodic and calm. "You have shown creativity, courage, and empathy. You are chosen to inherit our legacy." He realized the magnitude of what was happening. This was not just about discovery. It was about humanity proving itself worthy. The message, the fighter, the citadel, it was all a test, and a young human had passed. The scavengers breached the outer chamber, their weapons ready. Alex acted quickly. Using the citadel's systems, he created a series of defensive measures, energy barriers, automated drones, and gravitational traps. The scavengers were disoriented, unable to anticipate the clever use of technology by a single human. One by one, they were forced to retreat. Alex watched them flee, heart pounding, knowing he had survived against impossible odds. The citadel hummed in approval, the crystalline sphere glowing brighter. He had proven that humanity was capable of understanding, using, and protecting the knowledge of a lost civilization. As he studied the sphere, Alex realized the potential of what he now controlled. Energy sources that could power dying planets, AI capable of guiding civilizations, faster-than-light technologies. These were tools to reshape the galaxy. But with such power came responsibility. He would have to be careful, deliberate, and wise. The fighter's hollow device integrated with the citadel, amplifying his understanding. Symbols danced in the air, forming a map of systems that humans had never reached. Alex could see paths to new worlds, hidden resources, and civilizations that had yet to be contacted. It was a vision of the future, one that humans could reach with courage, ingenuity, and determination. For the first time since leaving Novara. 7. Alex allowed himself to feel hope. He was still young, still inexperienced, but he had proven that humans could rise to challenges beyond imagination. The lost civilization had chosen wisely. As he prepared to leave the citadel and bring the knowledge back to human space, the fighter hummed, ready for flight. The journey ahead would be long, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But Alex had learned that human creativity, courage, and empathy could overcome any obstacle. The citadel pulsed one final time, as if acknowledging his presence. Alex climbed into the fighter, gripping the controls with determination. He looked out at the dying star, knowing that the galaxy awaited. The message was clear. Humans had been given a chance, a responsibility, and a legacy. And Alex, an 18-year-old from a dusty mining planet, had accepted it. Alex sat in the cockpit of his fighter, staring at the glowing crystal sphere floating in the citadel. For days, he had uncovered the secrets of the lost civilization. He had survived ambushes, navigated deadly star systems, and proved that a human mind could understand what no AI could. Now, the final challenge awaited. The citadel pulsed around him, alive with energy. The symbols he had been decoding for weeks now formed a clear pattern, a sequence to activate the civilization's legacy. A system of knowledge and technology that could change the galaxy. But there was a warning. Misuse it, and disaster could follow. Alex's hands trembled as he prepared. This was no longer just exploration. This was responsibility on a scale he had never imagined. He took a deep breath and placed his hands on the crystal. The chamber flooded with light, and a holographic projection filled the space around him. It showed the civilization's history in vivid detail. Their rise, their discoveries, their expansion across the stars, and finally, their downfall. A massive energy wave had destroyed their homeworlds. Their cities, their fleets, even their AI had been lost, except for this citadel and the fighter carrying its message. Alex realized the true purpose of the message. It was not only a record, it was a test. The civilization had left this knowledge for a species capable of creativity, courage, and empathy. And he, a single human, had passed. But the scavengers were not finished. Their fleet had followed him into the system. Outside, massive ships hovered, bristling with weapons. They had seen the energy signatures of the citadel and knew Alex had something they wanted. Alex did not panic. He had learned from the fighter and the citadel that human ingenuity was a powerful weapon. He quickly analyzed the citadel's systems, finding ways to use its energy against intruders. He rerouted power to the outer shields, creating invisible barriers and traps. Energy arcs crackled along the citadel's walls, ready to repel anyone who tried to breach it. The first wave of scavengers attacked. Their weapons fired beams that struck the outer walls, but the shields held. Alex used the fighter's controls to manipulate the citadel's energy, turning the attackers' own momentum against them. Drones materialized from hidden bays, confusing and disabling enemy forces. Even though he was alone, Alex felt humanity's strength in every decision he made. He did not have advanced alien training, but he had creativity, courage, and intuition. These qualities allowed him to outthink the scavengers at every turn. As the battle raged, Alex's focus returned to the crystal. The holographic sequences demanded completion. He realized that to secure the legacy safely, he needed to interface fully with the Citadel. This meant synchronizing his mind with the alien AI, something the lost civilization had designed to test the empathy and intelligence of the user. Alex hesitated only for a moment. He had come too far to turn back. He placed his hands on the sphere and allowed the energy to flow into him. The chamber filled with visions, planets being powered, civilizations thriving, systems stabilized. He felt the knowledge of the lost civilization entering his mind. At the same time, he felt their warnings, the consequences of carelessness, the weight of responsibility. Outside, the scavengers attempted another assault. Alex reacted instinctively. Using the Citadel's energy, he created a massive pulse that disabled their ship's engines temporarily. Then, he used the fighter to leap into space, guiding the ships into a gravitational trap created by the Citadel. One by one, the intruders were forced to retreat. Alex watched as they fled, realizing that a single human mind, guided by courage and intelligence, could overcome overwhelming odds. With the scavengers gone, Alex returned to the Citadel. The final holographic projection displayed the civilization's greatest secrets: energy systems that could power entire planets, faster-than-light travel networks, and AI designed to help civilizations grow responsibly. He understood now why the lost civilization had vanished. They had become victims of their own power. They had entrusted humanity with the knowledge because they saw the potential for balance, creativity, and compassion. Alex carefully recorded everything in the fighter's storage systems. He could not carry all the technology at once, but he could bring enough to advance human civilization without risking catastrophe. Each decision required careful thought, testing not only his intelligence but his judgment and foresight. Hours later, the Citadel's energy pulsed one final time. It was a recognition, a validation that Alex had succeeded. The fighter hummed as it integrated fully with the Citadel's systems, giving him control of navigation, energy, and defense. Humanity had been given a chance, and Alex now held the key. He activated the jump drive, leaving the Citadel behind. Stars stretched into streaks of light as the fighter leapt into uncharted space. Alex's heart raced with excitement and responsibility. He was not just a young human from Novara 7 anymore. He was a guardian of a civilization's legacy, carrying the knowledge that could reshape the galaxy. Back in human space, Alex began to prepare for what was next. He contacted a trusted few, scholars, engineers, and explorers who could help him understand and safely implement the technology. Each person he selected had the creativity and dedication needed to use the knowledge wisely. Together, they could advance humanity without repeating the mistakes of the lost civilization. But even as he worked, Alex knew challenges lay ahead. Other civilizations, curious and ambitious, would seek the technology. There would be political tensions, rival factions, and dangers from unknown corners of the galaxy. Yet he was confident. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and now they had an advantage that required wisdom and courage. For a moment, Alex allowed himself to reflect. He thought of Novara 7, of the dusty streets he had left behind, and the fighter that had brought him here. A young human, underestimated by the galaxy, had risen to the challenge. It was a triumph, not of weapons or fleets, but of human ingenuity, courage, and empathy. The fighter hummed quietly, almost like a companion now. Alex smiled. Together, they had unlocked a legacy that had waited millennia. He knew the journey ahead would be long, but humanity was ready. He had proven it, and now the galaxy would see it too. The final message of the lost civilization echoed in his mind. We leave the stars behind, but we choose the species capable of carrying us forward. They had chosen wisely. Humanity was young, but it was resilient, clever, and full of potential. And he, an 18-year-old human, had taken the first step in a journey that would forever change the course of history. As the fighter navigated through human-controlled space, Alex looked out at the stars with determination. The galaxy was vast, full of wonder and danger. But he knew that, wherever humans went, they could rise to the challenge. They could explore, create, and protect. They could be the species that shaped the future. And in that moment, Alex felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of destiny. The message had been delivered, the legacy had been secured, and humanity, against all odds, had been proven worthy. The stars stretched before him, infinite and bright, and Alex steered the fighter forward, ready for the next adventure, carrying with him the hope, courage, and ingenuity of all humans. The story ends here, with a strong HFY payoff. Alex secures the lost civilization's legacy, outsmarts his enemies, and proves that a human mind, even young and inexperienced, can rise to challenges that no one else could. Humanity now has the knowledge and potential to change the galaxy, and the audience is left inspired by the strength, creativity, and courage of humans.